My mother's champagne glass hit the marble floor and shattered into 1,000 pieces. My father looked like someone had just told him the sky was falling. And my sister Sloane, perfect, golden Sloane, her hand was frozen in midair, that 2-carat engagement ring suddenly looking very, very small. All because Uncle Vincent had just asked me about my house. My $1.5 million house. The house my parents didn't know I owned. Let me back up. The engagement party had been going exactly how I expected. 200 guests crammed into the riverside ballroom, champagne flowing freely, and Sloane putting on a show. She'd been displaying that engagement ring for the past hour like she was exhibiting a national treasure. Platinum setting, 2 carats, cost her fiancé 3 months' salary. And the proposal story? I'd counted. She'd told it 15 times already. My parents were glowing. Literally glowing with pride. Every time Sloane retold the story, they asked questions about the jeweler, about the cut, about the clarity, like they were professional gemologists or something. Me? I was doing what I always did at family events. Standing near the bar, nursing my wine, offering congratulations when required, and basically being invisible. That's what I'd become over the past 8 years. The invisible daughter. The afterthought. The one who didn't quite measure up to Sloane's constant stream of achievements. And honestly, I'd made peace with it. Or at least I thought I had. I'd stopped trying to compete for their attention years ago. I focused on my work, built my life, and accepted that some things just weren't going to change. Then Uncle Vincent walked in. He apologized for his flight delay, made his way through the crowd, hugged Sloane, congratulated her fiancé. Standard stuff. Then he turned to me with this huge smile and pulled me into a warm hug. Isla, God, it's good to see you, he said, pulling back to look at my face. You look incredible. How's life in that $1.5 million house you purchased? Is the neighborhood everything you hoped? The conversation around us died. Just stopped. Like someone had hit a pause button on the entire party. Sloane's hand, the one with the ring, froze mid-gesture. My mother's champagne flute stopped halfway to her lips. My father's face went completely white. Vincent, my father whispered, his voice tight and confused. What house? I took a slow sip of my wine. I'm not going to lie, I was savoring the moment. 8 years. 8 years of being overlooked, dismissed, treated like the family disappointment while Sloane's every achievement became a Broadway production. And now, finally, the truth was coming out. The house on Sterling Heights, Vincent said casually, grabbing a champagne flute from a passing server. The one Isla bought in 2016. Gorgeous craftsman. That mountain view is spectacular. I stayed there last time I was in town. Sloane found her voice first. It came out shrill and disbelieving. Isla doesn't own a house. She rents that apartment near the university. I rented that apartment, I corrected her calmly, for about 2 years during my PhD program. Then I bought the house on Sterling Heights. That was 8 years ago. My father's champagne flute tilted dangerously in his grip. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the 5-bedroom craftsman I purchased for $1.2 million in June 2016, I said evenly. The one that's now valued at approximately $1.5 million, according to recent market comparables. The numbers seemed to echo through our little family cluster. My mother's hand flew to her throat. My father looked like he'd been struck by lightning. Sloane's perfectly practiced smile just crumbled. That's impossible, my mother breathed. Where would you get over $1 million? I put down $240,000 and financed the rest, I explained. Though I paid off the mortgage 6 years ago. Vincent nodded approvingly. Smart move. Isla's always been brilliant with money. That signing bonus from Crimson Pharmaceuticals? She put the entire amount toward the mortgage principal. Paid off $960,000 in 2 years. Signing bonus? My father's voice came out faint. What signing bonus? From when I started at Crimson, I said. They offered me $180,000 as a signing bonus to leave my postdoc position. I accepted and used it all to pay down the mortgage. You got $180,000 signing bonus? Sloane's voice sounded strangled. That's standard for senior positions in pharmaceutical research, I explained. My current annual compensation is $375,000, including bonuses and stock options. The silence that followed was absolute. Someone's champagne flute actually slipped from their fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Several guests turned to look. My mother looked like she might faint. $375,000, my father repeated mechanically. A year. Base salary is $280,000, I clarified. Annual performance bonuses average around $60,000, and my stock options vested this year at approximately $35,000. Vincent smiled. Isla's being modest. Those stock options? She's sitting on another $420,000 in unvested equity. Plus the patent royalties. Patent royalties? My mother whispered. I hold 11 patents in oncology drug delivery systems, I said. They generate approximately $95,000 annually in licensing fees. Sloane's hand, still frozen in midair, began to tremble. That 2-carat engagement ring suddenly looked very, very small. My parents just stood there, completely still, trying to process information that clearly didn't fit their understanding of who I was. I don't understand, my mother said, her voice breaking. You're a pharmaceutical researcher. How can you afford all this? I'm the director of oncology research at Crimson Pharmaceuticals, I corrected gently. I oversee a department of 47 researchers. We're currently in phase 3 trials for a drug that could revolutionize pancreatic cancer treatment. Vincent pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. Actually, Isla's work was featured in Nature Medicine last month. The article called her research groundbreaking and potentially Nobel-worthy. Nobel Prize, my father said hoarsely. It's early to talk about that, I said, uncomfortable with the speculation. But the research is promising. If the phase 3 trials succeed, we could save thousands of lives annually. Sloane found her voice again. It came out sharp and defensive. Why didn't you tell us about any of this? I did tell you, I said quietly. Multiple times. You didn't listen. That's not true, my father protested. Vincent set down his phone. Actually, it is true. I have the receipts. November 2016, Isla told you about the house. Dad, you said she was being financially irresponsible. Mom, you asked if she was sure she could handle the maintenance. April 2018, she mentioned the mortgage payoff at Easter dinner. You asked if that meant she was unemployed. We didn't say that, my mother said weakly. You did, I confirmed. You assumed that paying off a mortgage meant I'd lost my job, not that I'd been financially successful enough to eliminate the debt. The distinction seemed to wound my mother. Her eyes filled with tears. My father's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle jumping. Uncle Vincent continued like nothing had happened. Isla, have you made a decision about the lake house investment? That property was stunning. What lake house? My father demanded. There's a luxury property available on Lake Serenity, Vincent explained. 6 bedrooms, private dock, 3 acres. Isla's considering purchasing it as a vacation rental property. Why would Isla buy a vacation rental? Sloane asked, her voice thin. For income diversification, Vincent said. She already owns 4 rental properties in addition to her primary residence. This would be her 6th property overall. The revelation hit like a bomb. My mother actually swayed on her feet. My father grabbed her elbow to steady her. Sloane looked like someone had slapped her. For rental properties, my mother whispered. Small single-family homes in emerging neighborhoods, I said. I buy them below market, update them, and rent them to young professionals. Average cash flow of about $1,800 per unit after all expenses. That's $7,200 a month, my father calculated automatically. That's over $86,000 a year in rental income. Plus appreciation, Vincent added. Those properties have increased in value by an average of 42% since Isla purchased them. Her total real estate equity across all properties is approximately $2.1 million. The numbers kept landing like artillery shells. Sloane's engagement ring hand dropped to her side, completely forgotten. My parents stood frozen, trying to reconcile this version of their daughter with the one they had in their heads. $2 million in real estate, my father said slowly. That's just the real estate, Vincent corrected. Isla's total net worth is closer to $3.2 million when you include her retirement accounts, investment portfolio, stock options, and liquid assets. $3 million, Sloane's voice came out as a strangled whisper. $3.2 million, I corrected quietly. Though these are estimates. Market fluctuations could change the exact figure. My mother's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, joining the earlier casualty on the floor. This time, she didn't even notice. You're a multimillionaire, she breathed. On paper, I said. Most of it's invested or in real estate equity. That's when Dr. Caroline Hughes, Vincent's colleague, approached our group with a warm smile. Isla, I didn't know you'd be here. Congratulations on the FDA breakthrough designation. That's incredible news. Thank you, Caroline, I said. We're very excited about the potential. FDA breakthrough, my father said faintly. The FDA granted our pancreatic cancer drug breakthrough therapy designation 3 weeks ago, I explained. It fast-tracks the approval process. If everything goes well, we could have approval within 18 months instead of the usual 4 years. Caroline beamed. Isla's work is going to save countless lives. She's brilliant. Are you coming to the conference in Geneva next month? I'll be presenting our Phase 3 preliminary data, I confirmed. Presenting at a conference in Geneva, my mother repeated. The International Oncology Research Symposium, I said. I'm giving the keynote address on novel drug delivery mechanisms. It's a fairly significant honor in the field. Fairly significant? Vincent scoffed. Isla's the youngest keynote speaker in the symposium's 40-year history. It's a huge deal. Sloane's voice turned bitter. So you're just famous? Is that what this is? I'm not famous, I said. I'm respected in my field. There's a difference. Your research has been cited over 4,000 times, Caroline pointed out. You've published 37 peer-reviewed papers. You've revolutionized oncology drug delivery. That's more than respect. That's recognition of genuine brilliance. The praise felt uncomfortable, but I appreciated Caroline's support. My parents looked shell-shocked. Sloane looked like she was going to be sick. I need some air, Sloane said, pushing through the crowd toward the balcony. Her fiancé hesitated, looking between Sloane and our family group, then followed her. My mother started to go after them, but my father held her back. Let them go, Rebecca, he said quietly. We need to talk to Isla. What's there to talk about? I asked. Uncle Vincent mentioned my house. You didn't know I had one. Now you do. That's the whole conversation. It's not, my mother said, tears streaming down her face. How can you have achieved all of this and we didn't know? Because you never asked, I said simply. Because every conversation about my life got redirected to Sloane. Because you assumed that since I wasn't posting on social media or seeking attention, I must not have anything worth sharing. Vincent nodded. I've been watching it for years. Every phone call, every family gathering. It's the Sloane show. Sloane's job, Sloane's boyfriend, Sloane's engagement. Isla could cure cancer and you'd ask if Sloane wanted dessert. That's not fair, my father said. Isn't it? Vincent challenged. When was the last time you asked Isla about her research? Her home? Her life? When was the last time you treated her like she might have something worth celebrating? The silence was damning. My father looked away. My mother sobbed openly. I can tell you exactly when, I said quietly. You asked about my research 6 years ago at Thanksgiving. I started explaining my work on nanoparticle drug delivery and you interrupted after 2 minutes to ask Sloane about her new apartment. You haven't asked since. The specificity of the memory seemed to break something in my mother. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. For what? I asked. For not listening? For not caring? For spending 8 years treating me like I was less important than Sloane? We love you both equally, my father insisted. Do you? I asked. Can you tell me what company I work for? What my job title is? What disease I research? Where I live? Anything about my actual life? The silence stretched. My father's jaw worked. My mother's tears fell onto her dress. Crimson Pharmaceuticals, Vincent provided. Director of Oncology Research. Pancreatic Cancer. 2847, Sterling Heights Drive. Isla oversees breakthrough drug development that could save thousands of lives annually. We should have known all that, my mother said. Yes, I agreed. You should have. My father's voice came out rough. What do you want from us, Isla? Nothing, I said, and realized it was true. I wanted you to be proud of me. I wanted you to be interested in my work. I wanted you to see me. But I stopped wanting that about 4 years ago, when I finally accepted it wasn't going to happen. It can happen now, my mother pleaded. Can it? I asked. Or do you just want access to your millionaire daughter? Do you want to know me, or do you want to brag about me now that you can't pretend I'm the disappointing child? The accusation landed hard. My mother flinched. My father looked stricken. We never thought you were disappointing, my father said. You just thought I was less impressive than Sloan, I corrected. Less successful, less worthy of your time and attention. You were wrong. You were catastrophically wrong. But you didn't know because you never bothered to look. Vincent placed a hand on my shoulder. Isla, maybe we should. I'm leaving, I said, cutting him off gently. This is Sloan's night. I shouldn't have come. Isla, please, my mother said, reaching for me. I stepped back. Enjoy the party. Celebrate Sloan's engagement. It's what you're good at. I walked toward the exit, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind me, I heard my mother call my name, but I didn't turn around. Uncle Vincent caught up with me in the lobby. You okay? He asked. I think so, I said. That was harder than I expected. You were perfect, he said. Calm, dignified, truthful. Everything they needed to hear. They're going to call, I said. Tonight, tomorrow. They're going to want to fix this. Maybe, Vincent agreed. But you don't owe them an easy reconciliation. You've spent 8 years trying to be seen. If they want a relationship now, they need to earn it. What if they can't? I asked. Then you'll be fine, he said firmly. You have an incredible career, financial security, meaningful work that saves lives, and people who actually appreciate you. You don't need parents who only valued you when they learned your net worth. He was right. I knew he was right, but it still hurt. Thank you, I said, hugging him. For seeing me. For being proud of you, he said. Always. You're the most accomplished person in this family, Isla. Don't let their blindness make you doubt that. I drove home to Sterling Heights, to my 5-bedroom craftsman with its mountain views and custom finishes. To the life I'd built with my own brilliance, my own dedication, my own work. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. The home office where I reviewed research data and wrote papers that advanced medical science. The library filled with medical journals and oncology textbooks. The guest suite where Uncle Vincent stayed during his visits. The master suite with its spa bathroom and walk-in closet. Every room represented a choice I'd made, a goal I'd achieved, a dream I'd realized. Not for my parents' approval. Not for recognition. Just because this was the life I wanted. My phone started ringing. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. Then my father called. Voicemail again. A text from Sloan came through, you couldn't let me have one night. I stared at that message for a long moment. Part of me wanted to respond, to explain that I hadn't planned any of this. That I'd just been standing there, minding my own business, when Uncle Vincent walked in and asked an innocent question. But that wasn't entirely true, was it? Because when the truth started coming out, I didn't try to stop it. I didn't deflect or minimize. I let every single detail land exactly where it needed to. Maybe I'd been waiting for this moment longer than I wanted to admit. I set the phone down and walked through my house, room by room. The kitchen where I'd hosted dinner parties my parents had never attended. The backyard with its garden where I grew vegetables for the local food bank. The basement I'd converted into a home gym and meditation space. Each space held memories they knew nothing about. The colleagues I'd invited over for wine and research discussions. The quiet Sunday mornings spent reading medical journals in my library. The celebrations of research milestones that happened without my family's acknowledgement. I'd built an entire life. A full, rich, meaningful life. And they'd missed all of it. The anger I'd expected didn't come. Instead, there was just clarity. Clean, cold, liberating clarity. I'd built something extraordinary. I'd achieved financial independence, professional recognition, and meaningful impact. I was revolutionizing cancer treatment. I was on track for achievements my parents couldn't even comprehend. And I'd done it all without their knowledge, support, or approval. Which meant I didn't need those things to succeed. I never had. Tomorrow, there would be more calls, more attempts at reconciliation, more demands that I make them feel better about their failures. But tonight, I stood in my $1.5 million house, surrounded by 8 years of quiet achievement, and let myself feel the full weight of what I'd accomplished. Without them. Despite them. In spite of them. The truth was simple, I didn't need them to see me anymore. I'd already seen myself, and that was enough. I poured myself a glass of wine, a nice Cabernet from my collection, not the cheap stuff they served at the party, and sat in my home office. My laptop was open to my latest research data. Numbers and graphs that represented potential breakthroughs in cancer treatment. Work that mattered. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my mother. Please call us. We need to talk. I took a sip of wine and turned my phone face down on the desk. They'd had 8 years to talk to me. 8 years to ask questions, to show interest, to see who I'd become. Now they wanted to talk because the truth had embarrassed them in front of 200 guests. Now they wanted to talk because their assumptions about me had been shattered. Now they wanted to talk because they realized they'd been ignoring someone who'd achieved more than they ever imagined possible. But I was done making it easy for them. Done pretending their neglect didn't hurt. Done being invisible. If they wanted back into my life, they'd have to work for it. And even then, things would never be the same. Because I'd learned something important tonight, I didn't need their validation to know my worth. I already knew. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about resilience, self-worth, and discovering your own value when others refuse to see it. Sometimes the greatest success is the one you achieve in silence. It can't be diminished by those who chose not to notice.